My closest male friend discovered my hidden Reddit post, confessing my gay love for him, as he dozed in my hospital chair amidst my cancer treatment. I merely pretended I didn't know he knew. That happened 2 years back. Today, he sent me screen captures of all the comments he had upvoted. Can you imagine falling in love with the one person you swore you couldn't, the one person who saw you through your absolute worst, only to realize you might be too broken to deserve them? What the hell do you do then? Let me tell you about James. He's been my rock, my shadow, my closest friend on earth, pretty much since we were born. We grew up together in this tiny, strict religious town, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone else's business and deviation from the norm is, well, it's not tolerated. We were inseparable. When the awkward teenage dating years hit, James asked me to the first school dance. I said yes. We just kind of defaulted into being a couple. I don't think we ever talked about it, not really. I just started calling him my boyfriend, and it stuck. Our routine didn't change much, except our parents suddenly cared more about sleepovers, and there was a lot more hand-holding. But kissing? Cuddling? That was always so hard for me. I didn't know why back then, but James never, ever pushed. Not once. The couple of times we tried, he'd just sense my discomfort, mess up my hair playfully, and say, enough of that. How about we just watch a movie? I always thought I'd eventually get it. I just never did. Around 15, it clicked. A cold, hard truth. I wasn't sexually attracted to men. Cue about 8 months of a full-blown identity crisis. When I finally worked up the courage to tell someone, anyone, it had to be James. My hands were trembling as I walked to his house. He opened the door, gave me a hug, and just by the way I felt, he knew something was wrong. We sat down, and he took my hand. "What's wrong?" he asked, his voice so gentle. I tried to tell him, struggling to choke out, "I'm G," before he just interrupted me. "You're gay." A beat. Then that goofy, lopsided smile I knew so well. "Yes, I know. Is there anything else?" I froze. Are you mad?" I whispered. He just laughed, a genuine, warm sound, and told me he loved me for exactly who I was. That this was who I was. And then I just broke. I started crying, throwing myself into his arms. We stayed best friends. We never even had a breakup talk, just started dating other people. We hung out almost every single day until graduation. Then he went off to MIT. The night before he left, we drove around, hitting all our old spots. He dropped me home at 3 a.m. in the rain, and I remember taking his hand, falling asleep on his shoulder. For a fleeting second, I wondered if I should just marry him anyway. But he was leaving and I was gay. It just couldn't work. He promised to stay in touch, and I didn't truly believe him. But he did. It wasn't like before, but every week, that call would come. Just checking in, seeing how I was. Then, during my junior year, my parents found out I was gay. It was not good. I was kicked out. I did what I always do, I called James. He talked me through it for an hour, then convinced his mom to drive all the way to pick me up. I stayed in his old room. The very next day, he flew home, just to cheer me up, to make sure I was okay. Later, my mom told me he'd confronted them. He stood up for me. He told them they should be ashamed, that they were unfit parents, that if they were willing to lose their daughter over this, they weren't the second family he thought they were. My parents worshipped James, so it worked. Even now, my mom tells that story. And I remember thinking, will I ever know anyone else in my life who would do this for me? But he went back to college. He was still a man. And I was still gay. Then came the diagnosis. Cancer. Decent chance of survival, they said, but I had to start treatment immediately. At first, everyone was there. Visitors daily. Friends, family, everyone. But weeks turned into months, and it all stopped. When things were looking really grim, my girlfriend broke up with me. She said she loved me, but she just couldn't handle watching this. 2 years in now, and there are only 5 people left, my family and James. I can barely talk about it without my voice cracking, without tears blurring my vision. James. He's here every single day. For hours. He's probably only missed 20 days in almost 2 years, and only for work travel. Even then, he calls. He walks in, asks how his amumu is doing, and he listens. He brings my favorite snacks, the ones I can actually have. He brings board games, old handheld video games. He sings to me. He shows me pictures of places he's been, places he wants to take me once I'm better. He just sits there, holds my hand in silence, making sure I'm not alone, until the doctors tell him it's time to go. Then he does it again the next day. I've never seen him cry, never seen him show sadness. If I even accidentally say, if I get better, he cuts me off instantly. When you get better. He won't give up on me. This whole experience has changed things with my mom, too. She's proven that no matter our past clashes, she loves me like no one else. Except, maybe, James. My mom is James's #1 fangirl. She'd hinted before, but about a month ago, she was more direct. After James left one evening, she looked at me, serious. "Baby," she said, "in all my years on this earth, I've never seen anyone love anybody like that boy loves you. I know you don't like it when I talk about this, but trust me, if you let him go again, you're going to regret it forever." This time, for some reason, when she said it, I just knew she was right. I generally find the idea of being with a man, well, it's just not me. It's disgusting to me. But with him? It's not. I like being touched by him, being close to him. He's so gentle. Lately, I even catch myself fixating on his lips, daydreaming about kissing him. Now, the biggest problem is still the cancer. But honestly, I'm not on the fence about this anymore. If I survive, I want to be with him. I am getting better. The doctors are hopeful, but I don't know if I should tell him. Not now. I want to tell him so badly. I want him to know how much I love him. Lovers have come and gone for both of us, but every time I close my eyes and think about when I felt truly loved, understood, accepted, it's always his smiling face I see. When I think of feeling warm and safe, it's his arms I feel, wrapping around me like a perfectly sized blanket. His voice saying, "Don't worry, amumu, it'll be all right," or cracking some silly joke. I want him to know I want him with me, by my side, forever. There's nowhere I'd rather be than wherever he is. Cuddling on the couch, making fun of bad movies, playing video games, talking until 2 a.m., driving in circles while he sings boy band songs like a total goofball. I don't care as long as he's there. I want him to know that if I survive this, we will be together. That's what I want. That's all I want. He's all I want. But I'm terrified to tell him. What if I don't make it? Would it have been kinder to keep this to myself? If you were him, in his position, would you want me to tell you how I feel? I stared at my phone screen, thumb hovering over the post button. The nurses were doing their rounds. James had left an hour ago, but his cologne still lingered on my hospital gown from his goodbye hug. My fingers trembled. Every word I'd written felt raw, too honest. But that was the point of asking strangers on the internet, wasn't it? They didn't know me. They didn't know James. They could give me an unbiased answer. The door creaked. I quickly locked my phone, shoved it under my pillow. My mom poked her head in, carrying a cafeteria tray. "Thought you might want some real food," she said, setting down what looked like hospital mac and cheese. She settled into the chair James usually occupied, smoothing her skirt. We sat in comfortable silence while I picked at the food. My appetite had been better lately, which the doctors said was a good sign. "You know," Mom started, then stopped, pressing her lips together, choosing her words carefully. "Your father called earlier." I set down my fork. Dad and I hadn't spoken much since the whole getting kicked out incident. He'd come around, started visiting, but things were still strained. He wanted to know if you needed anything. Said he saw James at the grocery store buying those protein shakes you like. Of course he did. James probably had my dietary restrictions memorized better than I did. That was nice of him, I managed. Mom leaned forward. "Honey, I know I've said this before, but that boy, Mom, please." I pushed the tray away. "Not tonight." She held up her hands in surrender, but she didn't leave. Instead, she picked up a get well card, pretending to read it while stealing glances at me. I grabbed my phone again, unlocked it. The post was still there, cursor blinking at the end. Before I could second-guess myself, I hit submit. Within minutes, comments started rolling in. I refreshed obsessively, watching the numbers climb. Some called me selfish for even considering burdening him. Others said I owed him the truth after everything he'd done. A few shared their own stories of love found in unexpected places. Mom finally left when visiting hours ended. I spent the rest of the night reading every single comment, weighing their arguments. By morning, I was more confused than ever. James arrived at his usual time, 10 a.m. sharp. He burst through the door with his characteristic energy, carrying a bag from my favorite bakery. Illegal contraband, he announced, pulling out a chocolate croissant. Don't tell the nutrition police. I laughed, despite myself. He always knew how to make me smile. While I nibbled, he launched into a story about a coworker's dating disaster. I watched him gesture animatedly, noting how his eyes crinkled when he laughed. My phone buzzed. Another comment. James noticed me glance at it. Popular this morning? He asked. Just browsing, I said, locking the screen. He didn't push. He never did. Instead, he pulled out a deck of cards and started shuffling. We played gin rummy for an hour, and he let me win at least half the games. I knew he was doing it, but I appreciated the gesture. Dr. Patel came in for rounds, checking my charts. James stepped out for privacy, but I could see him through the window, pacing the hallway, probably rearranging his work schedule again. Your numbers are looking good, Dr. Patel said, making notes. The treatment seems to be working. We're cautiously optimistic. Cautiously optimistic. In cancer speak, that was practically a celebration. After she left, James returned with 2 cups of tea from the good coffee shop down the street, not the hospital cafeteria. He'd remembered I liked extra honey in mine. Good news? He asked, reading my expression. Cautiously optimistic, I repeated. His whole face lit up. That's amazing. See, I told you. When you get better, we're going on that road trip we always talked about. The road trip. We'd been planning it since high school. Cross country, all the weird roadside attractions. We'll need to add that new alien museum in Nevada, I said. Obviously. Can't have a proper road trip without questionable alien artifacts. We spent the next hour adding increasingly absurd destinations. I forgot about the Reddit post, forgot about my internal crisis, forgot about everything except laughing with my best friend. But then visiting hours were winding down. James gathered his things. He paused at the door, turning back. Hey, he said softly. You know, you can tell me anything, right? Whatever's on your mind lately. My heart stopped. Had he seen the post? Did he know? But his expression was just openly concerned. The same look he'd worn that night I came out to him years ago. I know, I whispered. He nodded, satisfied, and left with his usual, see you tomorrow, a muumuu. Alone again, I grabbed my phone. The post had blown up. Hundreds of comments, dozens of private messages. The consensus was split. Half saying, tell him now while you have the chance. Half saying, wait until you're in remission. One comment stood out. I was in a similar situation. I waited too long to tell them how I felt. They died never knowing. It's been 10 years and I still regret it every day. Don't be me. I stared at those words until my eyes burned. The next few days blurred. James came every day. We played cards, watched movies, talked about everything and nothing. I studied him when he wasn't looking, the way he drummed his fingers when thinking, how he always brought me water before I asked, the gentle way he adjusted my pillows without making me feel helpless. My mom kept dropping hints. Dad visited, awkwardly mentioning how nice it was that James was such a good friend. Even the nurses had started making comments about my devoted boyfriend before I corrected them. The online post kept growing. People were invested now, messaging me for updates. Some shared stories of sexuality being fluid, others about different kinds of attraction. A few just wanted to know what I'd decided. I hadn't decided anything. Then came the day of my latest scan results. Dr. Patel entered, poker face firmly in place. James was there, holding my hand. He'd taken the day off. The tumors have shrunk by 40%, she announced. The room spun. James's grip tightened to the point of pain, but I didn't pull away. That's good, right? I managed. That's very good. If this trajectory continues, we're looking at possible remission within 6 months. 6 months. I might actually have a future to plan for. James was crying. I'd never seen him cry. Not once during this whole ordeal. Tears streamed down his face as he pulled me into a careful hug. I told you, he whispered into my hair. I knew you'd hit this. You're the strongest person I know. I breathed in his familiar scent, felt his heart racing against my chest, and knew with sudden clarity that I couldn't wait 6 months. I couldn't wait another day. But the words wouldn't come. Instead, I just held him tighter, letting him cry the tears I was too shocked to produce. That night, I updated my post. The comments poured in, congratulations, advice, more urging to tell him. Someone pointed out that if we were going to be together, I'd have to tell him eventually. So why wait? Why was I waiting? Fear, mostly. Fear of ruining the most important relationship in my life. Fear of him not feeling the same way. Fear of making things weird if it didn't work out. Fear of a million what-ifs. But there was another fear now, growing stronger. The fear of wasting whatever time I had left. Because even with good scan results, nothing was guaranteed. Cancer had taught me that. James texted me goodnight like he always did. A simple, sweet dreams, Amumu. Can't wait to celebrate properly tomorrow. I stared at his contact photo, a selfie we'd taken on his last birthday, both of us making ridiculous faces. My thumb hovered over the call button. Not yet. But soon. Maybe. The next morning brought chaos. James burst into my room 20 minutes early, flushed, eyes wild. He was still wearing yesterday's clothes, wrinkled and askew. They called me at 4 a.m., he said, collapsing into the chair. My company's being acquired. They want me to relocate to Seattle or take a severance package. My stomach dropped. Seattle was thousands of miles away. The monitors monitoring my vitals beeped faster. When? I managed. They want an answer by Friday. That's 3 days. He ran his hands through his hair. I've been there 8 years, built half their systems from scratch, and he stopped, looking at me. His expression shifted from frustrated to guilty. I'm sorry. You don't need this right now. You've got enough to worry about. No, I said quickly. Tell me everything. He explained how the acquisition had been in the works for months, kept secret. The new company wanted to consolidate operations on the West Coast. They were offering generous relocation packages or 6-month severance. The money would help, he admitted. Seattle's expensive, but the salary increase would more than cover it, and they'd pay for the move, temporary housing, everything. Each word felt like a weight on my chest. I forced myself to ask the obvious question. Are you going to take it? He was quiet for a long moment, staring at his hands. I don't know. It's a good opportunity, the kind that doesn't come around often. The unspoken hung between us. He'd been putting his life on hold for 2 years, spending every free moment in this room. Maybe he was ready to move on. Maybe everyone had their limits, even James. A knock interrupted us. Mom entered, carrying coffee and bagels, but her smile faded. What's wrong? James explained. Mom's expression grew concerned. But you can't leave, she said when he finished. Not now. Not when she's finally getting better. Mom, I warned. No, I'm going to say this. She turned to James. That company doesn't deserve you if they're willing to uproot your whole life with 3 days' notice. James gave her a weak smile. It's business, Mrs. Lewis. Nothing personal. Everything's personal when it comes to people you love, Mom shot back. The word hung in the air. Love. James's ears turned red, and he suddenly became very interested in organizing the cards on my bedside table. Mom stayed for another hour, the 3 of us making stilted conversation about anything but Seattle. When she finally left, James and I sat in silence. He pulled out his laptop, presumably to work, but I could see him staring blankly at the screen. You should take it, I said suddenly. His head snapped up. What? The job. You should take it. The words tasted bitter, but I forced them out. It's a great opportunity. You said so yourself. I'll be fine. Mom's here. Dad's coming around. The doctors are optimistic. You don't need to babysit me anymore. His face went through several expressions before settling on something that looked like hurt. Is that what you think I'm doing? Babysitting? I didn't mean, Because I'm here every day out of obligation? Like it's some chore I have to check off. James. He stood abruptly, laptop clattering shut. I need some air. He was gone before I could respond, leaving me alone with the steady beep of machines and the echo of my own stupidity. My phone buzzed. Another notification. I opened the app. My post had been cross-posted to several other subreddits. Thousands of comments now. Many asking for updates. I typed out a quick summary of the job situation, my thumb hovering over the submit button. Update: he might be moving across the country for work. I told him he should take it. Why did I do that? I'm an idiot. The responses came fast. People called me self-sabotaging, said I was pushing him away out of fear. Others understood, saying it wasn't fair to ask him to stay. The debate raged in the comments while I stared at the ceiling, wondering if I'd just ruined everything. James didn't come back that day or the next morning. Mom arrived for her usual visit to find me alone, eyes red from crying. "Where's James?" she asked, though her expression suggested she already knew something was wrong. I told her about our fight, about telling him to take the job. She listened, then sat on the edge of my bed and pulled me into a hug. "Oh, honey," she murmured. "Why do we always hurt the ones we love most?" "Because I'm scared," I admitted into her shoulder. "What if I tell him how I feel and he doesn't feel the same? What if it ruins everything?" "What if you don't tell him?" she countered, pulling back to look at me, cupping my face, wiping away tears, "and he moves to Seattle thinking you don't care. Life's too short for what-ifs, baby. You of all people should know that." She stayed with me through lunch, trying to distract me. But I kept checking my phone. Nothing from James. That afternoon, Dr. Patel arrived with other doctors. "We'd like to try a new treatment protocol," she explained. "More aggressive, but promising. Given your recent improvement, we think you're strong enough." "What are the side effects?" I asked. "Nausea, fatigue, hair loss again, increased infection risk. We'd need to start immediately. The sooner, the better your chances." "How long?" 8 weeks of intensive treatment. You'd need to be here full-time. No day passes. 8 weeks. If James took the job, he'd be gone by then. "Can I think about it?" "Of course," she said, "but don't take too long. Every day matters." She left pamphlets. I tried to read them, but couldn't focus. Where was James? It had been over 24 hours. My phone rang. "Dad." "Hey, sweetheart," he said, tentative. "Your mother told me about James' job. How are you holding up?" "I'm fine," I lied. "You know, I've been thinking." He paused, took a deep breath. "I owe that boy an apology." "And you?" "When you came out, I reacted badly. I let fear and prejudice override my love for you. But watching James these past 2 years, seeing how he loves you unconditionally, it's taught me something." "Dad, let me finish." "I was wrong. Your mother and we were both wrong. But James, he's been right about you from the beginning. He sees you for exactly who you are and loves every part of you. That's rare, sweetheart. That's precious." I was crying again, unable to speak. "Don't let him go to Seattle without knowing how you feel," Dad continued. "Whatever happens, at least you'll know you tried." After we hung up, I sat staring at the pamphlets. 8 weeks of intensive therapy. 8 weeks of being sicker before maybe getting better. 8 weeks of needing someone by my side. But I'd pushed away the one person who'd never left. Evening came with no word from James. Mom brought dinner, but I couldn't eat. The nurses did their rounds. One, Alexandra, lingered. "Your friend hasn't been here," she observed, arranging flowers. "The tall one who always brings the good coffee." "He's busy," I said. She gave me a knowing look. "I've been doing this for 15 years. You want to know what I've learned? The people who show up every day, who sit through the hard stuff, who never complain, they're not doing it out of obligation." "How do I know?" "Because obligation has limits. What your friend does. That's love." She left me with that thought. I spent another sleepless night scrolling through comments, reading stories of chances taken and opportunities missed. The next morning, Friday, decision day, I woke to find James sitting in his usual chair. He looked exhausted. Dark circles, stubble. "Hi," he said quietly. "Hi." We stared at each other for a long moment. Then he leaned forward. "I need to tell you something," he began. These past 2 days, I've been thinking about the job, about Seattle, about everything. And I realized something. My heart was pounding so hard, I was sure the monitors would give me away. I've been in love with you since we were kids, he said, the words a rush. Before you came out, after, through everything, it never changed. I thought I could be okay with just being your friend. And I was, because having you in my life in any capacity was better than not having you at all. But these past 2 years. He paused, running a hand through his hair. Watching you fight, being here with you every day, it's only made me love you more. And the thought of moving to Seattle, of not being here when you need me, of missing even one day with you. I can't do it. I couldn't breathe. The room felt too small, too bright. I know you're gay, he continued. I know you don't feel that way about men, and I'm not asking for anything to change. I just needed you to know before I made this decision. I'm staying. Not out of obligation. Not because I pity you. But because I love you. I've always loved you, and I'll keep showing up every day whether you love me back or not, because that's what you do for the person who matters most. The silence stretched, heavy with 2 decades of unspoken truths. I opened my mouth to tell him everything, about the online posts, about my changing feelings, about daydreaming of kissing him. But what came out was, I have to do 8 weeks of intensive treatment. His expression shifted to concern. When? They want to start Monday. I'll be here full time. It's going to be rough. Then I'll be here, too, he said simply. Every day. But your job, I'll take the severance. 6 months to figure out what's next. Maybe I'll finally write that novel I'm always talking about. James, you can't plan your life around my treatment schedule. He leaned back, studying me. Why not? You're planning yours around mine. What? You told me to take the job. Not because you think it's best for me, but because you're scared. Of what? I don't know. But you're pushing me away, and I want to know why. The monitors betrayed me, beeping faster as my heart rate spiked. A nurse poked her head in. I waved her off. I'm not pushing you away, I said weakly. Really? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're trying to make my decision for me, just like you did when we were kids. What are you talking about? When you came out, you decided we couldn't be together without even asking how I felt about it. You just assumed it wouldn't work and moved on. And I let you, because I wanted you to be happy. But I'm not doing that again. My phone buzzed. Another notification. James glanced at it, then back at me. You've been on your phone a lot lately, he observed. Anything interesting? Just browsing, I mumbled, the same lie. He nodded slowly. You know what I think? I think you're scared of being happy. I think you've gotten so used to things being hard that you don't know what to do when something good is right in front of you. That's not, I'm staying, he interrupted. I already called them this morning. Told them I'd take the severance. So, whatever you're afraid of, whatever reason you have for pushing me away, it's too late. I'm here for the duration. He stood, stretching. I'm going to get us some real breakfast. When I get back, maybe we can actually talk about what's really going on. He left before I could respond. I grabbed my phone, hands shaking as I typed out another update. He just told me he loves me. Has always loved me. He's turning down the job to stay. I'm panicking. What do I do? The responses were immediate and unanimous. Tell him how you feel. But I couldn't. Not yet. Not when I was about to start 8 weeks of treatment that would leave me weak, sick, and even more dependent on him. It wasn't fair. He deserved better than a cancer patient who couldn't even figure out her own sexuality. Mom arrived as James returned with breakfast sandwiches. They exchanged a look I couldn't interpret. I'll give you two some privacy, Mom said. But I grabbed her hand. Stay, please. She sat down, and the three of us ate in awkward silence. Finally, Mom set down her sandwich. Okay, I can't take this anymore. James, did you tell her? Tell me what? I asked, though I suspected I knew. That I'm in love with her. Yes. Did she respond? No. Mom turned to me. And are you going to tell him? Tell me what? James echoed, and there was hope or fear in his voice. I looked between them, these two people who'd been constants in my life. Mom nodded encouragingly. The word stuck. I need to use the bathroom. I fled, locking the door. My reflection looked pale and drawn. Nothing like the confident person I wanted to be. How could I tell him I loved him looking like this? How could I ask him to want me when I was barely holding myself together? My phone buzzed. A private message from someone who'd been following my story. I was you 5 years ago. Different circumstances, same fear. I almost let the love of my life walk away because I didn't think I deserved them. Don't be me. Tell him. I splashed water on my face and returned to find Mom and James in intense conversation. They stopped when they saw me. I should go, Mom said. But think about what I said, James. After she left, James helped me back into bed, adjusting my pillows the way he always did. Your mom thinks I should give you space, he said. Let you process everything without pressure. What do you think? I took a deep breath. I think we need to talk about the treatment first. 8 weeks is a long time. I'm going to be really sick. It's not fair to ask you, you're not asking. I'm offering. There's a difference. But why? The question came out more desperate than intended. Why would you put your life on hold for someone who can't even what? The words tumbled out before I could stop them. Love you back the way you deserve. His face softened. Is that what you think? That you can't love me? I'm gay, James. That hasn't changed. I know. I've known for 10 years. It didn't stop me from loving you then, and it doesn't stop me now. But it's not fair to you. What's not fair is you deciding what I can and can't handle without asking me. He moved to sit on the edge of my bed, careful not to disturb my 4 lines. Can I ask you something? I nodded. When you think about the future, assuming everything goes well with treatment, what do you see? The question caught me off guard. I don't know. I try not to think that far ahead. Try now. I closed my eyes, letting myself imagine for the first time in months. The road trip, I whispered. The one we've been planning forever. What else? Movie nights, game tournaments, driving around singing badly to the radio. Who's with you in this future? I opened my eyes to find him watching me intently. You. Always you. Then why are you trying to send me to Seattle? Because you deserve someone who can give you everything. A real relationship, a family, all the things I can't stop. He took my hand, interlacing our fingers. You don't get to decide what I deserve. And for the record, you give me everything. You have, since we were kids. But I'm gay, I repeated, as if saying it enough times would make him understand. And I'm a man who's in love with a gay woman. It's complicated. So what? When has anything about us been simple? He had a point. Our entire relationship had been built on defying expectations. The religious kids who supported each other through coming out. The exes who stayed best friends. The pair who'd weathered family rejection and cancer. The treatment starts Monday, I said, changing the subject again. I'll be here every day. Every day. Even when I'm throwing up and can't keep food down. I'll bring popsicles. Even when I'm too tired to talk. I'll bring my laptop. We can watch movies. Even when I'm angry and scared and taking it out on everyone around me. Especially then, he squeezed my hand. I'm not going anywhere. The sooner you accept that, the sooner we can move on to whatever comes next. What if there's no next? I whispered. What if the treatment doesn't work? Then we'll deal with that together, too. But I'm betting on you. I always have. A knock interrupted us. Dr. Patel entered with more forms. Have you made a decision? She asked. I looked at James, still holding my hand, still here despite everything. Yes, I want to do it. Excellent. We'll start Monday morning. I'll have the nurses prepare everything. She paused at the door. It's good you'll have support. This won't be easy. After she left, we sat in comfortable silence. He pulled out the deck of cards, and we played gin rummy while the sun moved across the sky. Neither of us mentioned his confession or my non-response, but something had shifted between us, some invisible barrier crumbling. That evening, as visiting hours wound down, James stood to leave. I need to go home and deal with some work stuff. Officially accept the severance package. Clean up my desk. But I'll be back tomorrow. James, wait. I caught his hand. Thank you. For staying. For everything. He smiled. That goofy grin I'd loved since childhood. That's what you do for family, right? Family. Was that what we were? It felt both too small and too vast to encompass what existed between us. After he left, I opened my online post one more time. The comments had reached a fever pitch. Everyone invested in the outcome. I typed out a final update for the day. He's staying. Gave up the job without hesitation. Said he loves me. I froze. Couldn't say it back. Starting intensive treatment Monday. 8 weeks of being sicker before maybe getting better. He says he'll be here every day. I believe him. Still terrified to tell him how I feel. What if I wait too long? What if I don't get the chance? The responses varied, but one theme emerged. Time was precious. Cancer had taught me that, but somehow I kept forgetting when it came to James. Mom called that night. How did it go after I left? He's staying, I said. And I'm a coward who couldn't tell him the truth. She sighed. You're not a coward. You're scared. There's a difference, is there? Cowards run away. You're still there, still fighting. The words will come when you're ready. What if I'm never ready? Then James will keep showing up anyway. That's the kind of man he is. But honey, don't you think he deserves to know he's not alone in how he feels? After we hung up, I lay awake thinking about deserving. James thought I didn't believe I deserved love. Maybe he was right. Maybe cancer had stripped away more than just my health. Maybe it had taken my ability to believe in happy endings too. But then I remembered his face when Dr. Patel announced the tumors had shrunk. Pure joy unfiltered by doubt or fear. He believed in my happy ending, even when I couldn't. My phone lit up with a text from him. Sweet dreams, Amumu. Big day tomorrow. We've got forms to fill out and a treatment plan to conquer. I'll bring the good coffee. I smiled, despite myself. Even facing down 8 weeks of intensive chemo, he was thinking about coffee preferences. That was James. Finding light in the darkness, making unbearable things bearable just by being there. I typed back, see you tomorrow. Then, before I could lose my nerve, I added, I'm glad you're staying. His response came immediately. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. I stared at those words until my eyes grew heavy. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, treatment protocols, side effects, the slow crawl toward either remission or something worse. But James would be there. He'd chosen me over Seattle, over career advancement, over the normal life he could have with someone who wasn't fighting cancer and struggling with their sexuality. The least I could do was choose him back. But first, I had to survive the next 8 weeks. Monday morning arrived with the kind of gray drizzle that made everything feel heavier. I'd been awake since 4 a.m., watching the rain streak down my hospital window, trying not to think about what was coming. The new treatment would start in 3 hours. James showed up at 7 a.m. with coffee and a stack of magazines. He looked like he'd slept about as well as I had, which is to say, not at all. But he was smiling, making jokes about the weather matching the mood. The nurses came in to prep me. More 4 lines, different medications, a whole new routine. James watched everything carefully, asking questions about side effects and timing. Nurse Alexandra explained that the first few days would be the worst. Dr. Patel arrived with a team of specialists. They went through the consent forms again, making sure I understood what I was signing up for. 8 weeks of aggressive treatment, higher doses, more frequent sessions, stricter isolation protocols to protect my compromised immune system. James held my hand through the whole thing, squeezing gently when they mentioned the isolation requirements. Only immediate family would be allowed to visit, and even then, with strict hygiene. He counts as immediate family, I said quickly, nodding toward James. Dr. Patel raised an eyebrow but made a note. Very well, Mr. James. Just James is fine. After they left, we sat in silence while the first round of chemicals dripped into my veins. I could already feel them working, that familiar metallic taste creeping into my mouth. You know you don't have to do this, I said, for what felt like the 100th time. He pulled out his laptop. I brought the entire extended edition of Lord of the Rings. We're starting with Fellowship. By noon, I was throwing up. By evening, I couldn't keep water down. James sat beside me, holding my hair back, bringing me ice chips, never once looking disgusted or overwhelmed. Mom came by after work, took one look at me, and immediately started fussing. She'd brought homemade soup I couldn't eat and fuzzy socks she insisted would help. James gave her his chair, stood by the window, giving us space while still being present. How's she doing? Mom asked him quietly while I dozed. "She's tough," he said. "Tougher than she knows." The first week was hell. Every day brought new side effects, new challenges. My hair started falling out again in clumps. My skin felt like it was on fire. I couldn't eat, could barely drink, and spent most of my time either sleeping or wishing I was asleep. James was there for all of it. He showed up every morning at 7 a.m. and stayed until they kicked him out at night. He brought his laptop and worked remotely from my room, taking calls in the hallway. He read to me when I was too tired to watch movies, played music when the silence got too heavy, and sat quietly when I needed to rage against the unfairness. One particularly bad day, I snapped at him, told him he was wasting his life, that he should be dating someone healthy, building a career, doing anything other than watching me deteriorate. He just looked at me calmly and said, "I must be feeling better if I have the energy to yell." Then he went back to his crossword puzzle like I hadn't just tried to push him away again. The messages from my online post kept coming. People checking in, offering advice, sharing their own stories. I tried to update when I could, but most days I could barely hold my phone. James noticed me struggling one afternoon and offered to type. "No," I said quickly. "It's fine, just some online friends." He didn't push, but I caught him glancing at my phone when notifications came through. Week 3 brought a new complication. My white blood cell count dropped dangerously low. They adjusted the treatment. Dr. Patel ordered stricter isolation protocols. Everyone who entered had to wear masks, gowns, gloves, no outside food, no flowers, minimal physical contact. James adapted without complaint. He showed up in full protective gear, making jokes about looking like he was about to perform surgery. But I could see the worry in his eyes when the nurses explained that any infection could be catastrophic. Dad started visiting more regularly, always looking uncomfortable in the required gear. He and James developed an odd friendship, bonding over sports and their shared concern for me. Sometimes I'd wake from a nap to find them deep in conversation about baseball statistics or home repair projects. One afternoon, Dad brought up the elephant in the room. "So, James," he said carefully, "Mom tells me you turned down a job in Seattle." James glanced at me before answering. "It wasn't the right move for me. Must have been a good opportunity, though." "Tech jobs in Seattle," Dad trailed off. "Some things are more important than money," James said simply. Dad nodded slowly, and I saw something shift in his expression. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. Later, when James stepped out for a call, Dad sat on the edge of my bed. "That boy loves you," he said quietly. "I know. Do you love him?" I couldn't answer. The words were there, had been for weeks, but I couldn't make them come out. Dad patted my hand gently. "Don't wait too long, sweetheart. Life's too short for waiting." Week 4 brought the first sign of improvement. My blood count stabilized. I kept down some broth. Dr. Patel cautiously adjusted the treatment plan. We were on track. James celebrated by sneaking in popsicles, the fancy fruit ones from the organic market. We ate them while watching cooking shows, probably masochistic given I couldn't eat real food, but somehow it helped. "When you get out of here," he said, "I'm cooking you the biggest feast. Everything you've been craving." "When I get out of here," I corrected, "I'm probably going to want nothing but plain rice for a month. Then I'll make you the best plain rice you've ever had." That night, I opened my post to find it had been shared to even more corners of the internet. Thousands of people now invested in my story, all wanting to know if I'd told James how I felt. The pressure was overwhelming. One message stood out. My wife was gay when we met. Identified as gay for years, but sexuality is complex and fluid and doesn't always fit in neat boxes. We've been married 12 years now. She still identifies as gay, just with an exception. Love is weird like that. I stared at that message until my eyes burned. Week 5 arrived with bad news. The treatment was working, but not as well as hoped. Dr. Patel wanted to extend the protocol another 4 weeks, 12 weeks total instead of 8. James took the news harder than I did. I watched him struggle to keep his expression neutral. His jaw clenched, hands fisted at his sides, but he nodded and asked what we needed to do. After she left, he excused himself. I saw him through the window, pacing, running his hands through his hair. Mom appeared from somewhere and pulled him into a hug. I watched them talk, unable to hear, but understanding anyway. She was comforting him like family. When he came back, his eyes were red, but his smile was firmly in place. "Looks like we'll need more movies," he said. "Good thing there are extended editions of The Hobbit, too." That night, I couldn't sleep. The chemicals made my skin crawl, my stomach churn. James dozed in the chair beside me, his hand resting near mine, not touching. The isolation protocols wouldn't allow it, but close enough that I could feel his warmth. I studied his face in the dim light. The stubble he hadn't had time to shave. The new lines around his eyes from stress and exhaustion. The way his mouth curved slightly, even in sleep, like he was dreaming of something pleasant. My phone buzzed. Another notification. Someone had given my post an award, pushing it to the front page. The comment count was approaching 10,000. I thought about updating, telling them about the extended treatment, about James sleeping in an uncomfortable chair for the 1,000th night, about how I still couldn't say the words that lived in my throat. Instead, I just watched him sleep and wondered how many more chances I'd waste. Week 6 brought Mom's birthday. She insisted she didn't want to celebrate, but James coordinated with Dad to bring a cake to the hospital. They sang happy birthday in the hallway while she cried and pretended she wasn't. "Make a wish," I told her when they brought the cake to the window so I could see. She looked directly at me, then at James, and blew out the candles. I had a pretty good idea what she'd wished for. The side effects were getting worse. My body was exhausted. Some days I could barely stay awake for more than an hour. James adjusted his schedule around my waking moments. One afternoon, I woke to find him video chatting. He was angled away, trying not to disturb me, but I could hear. "The novel's going well," he was saying. "Yeah, I write mostly at night. During the day, I'm busy." I realized he'd actually started writing his book. All those nights when I thought he went home to sleep, he was staying up writing, pursuing his dream in the margins of his life, while spending every daylight hour in this hospital room. "I have to go," he said, noticing I was awake. "Talk later." He closed the laptop and turned to me with that ever-present smile. "Hey there, Sleeping Beauty. How are you feeling? You're writing your novel." His ears turned pink. "Just messing around. Nothing serious." "James, want some ice chips?" "I'll get you ice chips." He fled before I could press further, leaving me alone with the weight of everything he was sacrificing without ever making me feel like a sacrifice. Week 7 nearly broke us both. An infection scare put me in complete isolation for 3 days. James couldn't come in at all, could only wave through the window. He set up camp in the hallway, laptop, blanket, and determination. The nurses told me he never left, slept sitting up against the wall, ate from vending machines, waited. When they finally let him back in, properly gowned and masked, he just sat beside me for a long time without saying anything. His eyes were bloodshot, exhaustion written in every line of his body. "You need to go home," I told him. "Sleep in a real bed. Take a shower. Eat actual food." "I'm fine." "James, I said I'd be here every day. I meant it. This is crazy. You can't keep—" "Yes, I can." His voice was firm. "I can keep doing this as long as you need me to. Forever, if necessary." The word hung between us. Forever. Such a big word for such an uncertain situation. That night, while he dozed, I finally posted an update. Told them about the extended treatment, about James sleeping in hallways, about the novel he was writing in secret. Asked them what kind of person does that for someone who can't even say 3 simple words. The responses were unanimous. Someone in love. Week 8 brought hope. My counts improved dramatically. Dr. Patel smiled for the first time in weeks. The treatment was finally working the way it should. "For more weeks," she said. "Then we reassess, but this is very encouraging." James actually hooped right there in the hospital room, made Dr. Patel laugh, and the nurses peek in to see what the commotion was about. His joy was infectious, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something other than exhaustion. Mom brought sparkling cider to celebrate. We couldn't drink it, still on a restricted diet, but she poured it into cups, and we toasted anyway. To medicine, to stubbornness, to hope. To James, Mom added, raising her cup. He blushed furiously, mumbled something about it being nothing. But I saw the way he smiled, saw the way he looked at me when he thought I wasn't watching. Week 9 was almost normal. My appetite returned slowly. I could sit up for longer periods. James brought his guitar from home and played quietly while I dozed, old songs from our teenage years, the ones we used to sing badly in his car. One afternoon, he was playing something I didn't recognize. Something soft and melancholy and beautiful. "What's that?" I asked. He stopped immediately. "Nothing. Just something I've been working on." "Play it again." He hesitated, then started over. This time, I listened to the words. Really listened. It was about waiting, about choosing to stay, about love that doesn't ask for anything in return. When he finished, we sat in silence. There were tears on my face, and I couldn't blame them on the medication. "James," I started. "Want to watch a movie?" he asked quickly. "I brought that comedy you like." Another deflection, another missed moment, but I could see in his eyes that he knew he'd written that song for me, and we both knew it. Week 10 brought visitors. My counts were high enough to allow more people in. Old friends from high school stopped by, awkward in their protective gear, not sure what to say to the girl they'd lost touch with who was now fighting cancer. James handled them all with grace, making introductions, keeping conversations going, making everyone feel welcome. Seb, one of his coworkers, stopped by with a box of James's things from the office. "We miss you, man," Seb said. "Whenever you're ready to come back, or if you want to freelance." "Thanks," James said. "Maybe when things settle down." After Seb left, I watched James go through the box. Photos, a coffee mug I'd given him years ago, his nameplate. 8 years of career condensed into a cardboard box. "I'm sorry," I said. "For what?" "Your job. Your life. Everything you've given up." He looked at me with such intensity, I had to look away. "I haven't given up anything that matters." Week 11 brought the worst fight we'd ever had. I was feeling better, which somehow made everything harder. The reality of what the past months had cost him hit me full force, and I lashed out. Told him he was an idiot for staying, that he was wasting his potential, that I was never going to be what he wanted me to be, that he should go to Seattle, find someone whole and healthy and straight. He listened, face completely calm. When I finally ran out of steam, he stood up. "I'll see you tomorrow," he said quietly. "Didn't you hear me? I don't want you here." "I heard you. I'll see you tomorrow." He left, and I threw a cup at the door. It bounced harmlessly, water splashing. The nurses came running, found me sobbing uncontrollably. Mom arrived within an hour. Someone had called her, probably James. She held me while I cried, not saying anything, just being there. "I'm ruining his life," I gasped. "No, honey. You're saving it." That doesn't even make sense. Love rarely does. True to his word, James was back the next morning. He brought donuts. I still couldn't eat them, but the gesture mattered. We didn't talk about the fight. Didn't talk about feelings. Just played cards and pretended everything was normal. But that night after he left, I found a note tucked under my pillow. His handwriting, careful and precise. "You can push all you want. I'm not going anywhere. Not because I'm an idiot or because I'm wasting my potential. Because this is where I choose to be. With you. Always with you. Even when you're trying to protect me from yourself, especially then. Love, James." I read it until the words blurred, then tucked it carefully in my phone case. Week 12 arrived with fanfare. The last week of extended treatment. Dr. Patel ordered new scans, comprehensive blood work. James was nervous. I could tell by the way he organized and reorganized the items on my bedside table, checked his phone every 30 seconds. "It's going to be fine," I told him. "I know you're a terrible liar." That got a smile. "Yeah, well, you're a terrible patient, so we're even." The results came back on Thursday afternoon. Dr. Patel entered with her poker face. James grabbed my hand. "Protective gear be damned. The tumors have shrunk by 70% total," she announced. "The cancer markers in your blood are at the lowest we've seen. This is excellent news." James made a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. His hand squeezed mine so tight it hurt, but I didn't pull away. "So, what's next?" I managed. "We finish this week of treatment. Then we wait. Monitor monthly scans for the first year." But she paused, smiled. "I'm optimistic. Genuinely optimistic." After she left, James and I sat in stunned silence. 70%. Lowest markers yet. Words that meant maybe, possibly, hopefully. There was a future to plan for after all. We need to add more stops to that road trip, James said. Finally, I laughed, half hysterical with relief. All the stops. Every weird roadside attraction in America. Might take us years to hit them all. Good thing we've got time then. The words slipped out before I could stop them. We. Like it was a given. Like, of course, we'd be together for years of road trips and weird attractions. James went very still. Do we? This was it. The moment I'd been avoiding for months, years, really. My heart hammered against my ribs. I need to tell you something, I said. He waited, not pushing, barely breathing. I wrote a post online about you. About us. About this. I gestured helplessly between us. His eyebrows rose. Oh. Thousands of people have been following it. They all think I'm an idiot. Why? Because I can't say it. What I need to say. What you deserve to hear. He leaned forward slightly. What's that? The words stuck in my throat, like always. But then I thought about 12 weeks of him showing up. 12 weeks of choosing me over everything else. 12 weeks of love in action, even when I tried to push him away. A knock interrupted. Mom burst in with Dad, both crying, having heard the news from the nurses' station. The moment shattered as they pulled us into careful hugs, talking over each other about celebration dinners and future plans. But James caught my eye over Mom's shoulder, mouthed the words later. We'll talk later. I nodded, tucked the words back inside for safekeeping. Later. We had later now. We had time. The final treatment session was Monday morning. James arrived early with good coffee and my favorite blanket from home. The nurses had decorated my four-pole with ribbons, last day written in glitter. Ready for this? James asked. Ready to be done, I said. The chemicals dripped into my veins one last time. James sat beside me, reading from his manuscript. He'd finally admitted he'd written over 200 pages. It was good. Really good. A story about choosing love over logic. About showing up when it matters. Is this about us? I asked during a particularly emotional scene. Everything I write is about us, he said simply. Always has been. Dr. Patel came by for final instructions. Rest, recovery, monthly monitoring. A whole packet of information about life after treatment. You've been incredibly strong, she told me. Both of you. Not every patient has support like this. After she left, James helped pack up 12 weeks' worth of accumulated items, cards, the blanket his mom had knitted, notebooks full of his writing. My phone, with its thousands of notifications, ignored all day. I can't believe it's over, I said. This part's over, James corrected. Everything else is just beginning. Mom arrived to drive me home. Actual home, not the hospital. I'd be staying with her for a few weeks while I recovered. James would follow in his car. As the nurses wheeled me toward discharge, I grabbed his hand. Wait. Before we go, I need to. He knelt beside the wheelchair so we were eye level. What is it? I love you, I said. The words came out in a rush, like they'd been building pressure for months and finally burst free. I'm in love with you. Have been for longer than I understood. And I know I'm gay and this doesn't make sense and it's complicated and messy but he kissed me. Right there in the hospital hallway. In front of the nurses and my mom and God and everyone. Gentle and careful and perfect. When he pulled back, he was crying. Took you long enough, he said. Yeah, well, I'm slow sometimes. I've got time, he said. All the time you need. Mom drove us home through streets that looked impossibly bright after months of hospital fluorescence. James followed behind, singing along badly to the radio. I could see him in the side mirror. My phone buzzed with notifications. Thousands of people waiting for an update, for resolution, for their happily ever after. But this wasn't an ending. Not really. It was a beginning. Messy and uncertain and real. I typed out one final update as Mom pulled into the driveway. He knows. I told him. We're figuring it out. It's complicated and doesn't fit in any neat category and will probably confuse people forever. But he's here and I'm here and we've got time now. That's all that matters. Thank you for following along, for pushing me when I needed it. Sometimes internet strangers know best. P.S. We're definitely doing that road trip. James was waiting by the car when we parked. That goofy grin lighting up his whole face. He helped me out carefully, like I was made of glass. Welcome home, Amumu, he said. Home. With him. The future stretching out uncertain, but no longer alone. It was enough. More than enough. So, here's my question for you. After hearing all this, have you ever found yourself in a situation where everything you thought you knew about love, or even yourself, got completely turned upside down? What did you do when the person who mattered most wasn't who you expected them to be, but exactly who you needed? Tell me what you think. I really want to know.